Welcome. In today's lesson, we're going to be discussing images to use for your any sort of content creation, advertising, and your product pages. So there's been a ton of research done on this about what sort of images receive the most attention and drive the most conversions. So, some of the main ones as far as grabbing a person's attention include brides, babies, animals, famous people, odd situations, like maybe a person wearing an eye patch, and then catastrophe images, so like a car accident or something like that. Those sort of images, with a ton of testing, those sort of images grab people's attention more than other sorts of images. So that's just something to consider when you're creating content, maybe for your blog, and what sort of images should you use. Now, obviously, if you're selling a product that has nothing to do with a bride, don't just use an image of a bride to grab the attention. Another big part of this, and another study that was done, is if you're going to be if your customer base is mostly women, use images of women. If your customer base is mostly men, use images of men. Now, you would think that images of women would be more responsive to men, and they are. It does grab attention of men, but it grabs their attention for the image, not the actual product, and it doesn't drive conversion. So simply putting an image of an attractive woman out there for your product, that might drive more men to interact with that image. But in studies, what they've done is they've done tests where men will respond to the ad, and then they'll ask the man, well, what was the product? What was the brand? And they have just no idea, because they were just interacting with the image, and they only showed interest in the image. What you want to do is include images of the person's gender and also match their demographics. So if it's white young women in their 20s to 30s, maybe they live in California, use images of exactly that demographic as much as possible. You want to match that as closely as possible. The more you stray from that, generally, the more conversions go down. Same with men. Whatever their particular demographic is, try and include that demographic within the image. Again, with all this, A/B test it. Try a few different sorts of images, but generally that is the rule. And this has been done. You can imagine knowing this sort of stuff. It's a huge advantage. I mean, there's been a ton of research done in all of this. So yeah, let's see here. When creating your images, try to include things that are distinctly human. So heads, close-up features of the heads, the hands, eyes, things that are really stand out as being a human being feature, rather than a full body shot could deliver more conversions. It's just that we respond more to things that are uniquely like us, right? A head that matches our demographics, that matches our gender, a human hand, that's a very particular thing to human beings, the human eye, these are things that really stand out as uniquely human, that we relate to, that will grab our attention more. So if you were considering creating an ad, you would look at the brides, babies, animals, odd situations, famous people, catastrophes, maybe considering one of those, using a person who matches the gender and the demographics of your consumer base, right? And feature something that is uniquely human about them. So maybe a close-up of a woman in California, 20, 30s, white, who's wearing an eye patch or whatever it might be. I'm just saying that these sort of features have been shown to grab attention and stand out more. That being said, they don't necessarily convert better. They can. This would be something that you would test, as with everything. But the sort of images that actually convert and that you would want to consider in your advertisements and your product pages differ from these. These sort of images would be more for blog content or on-site images, not necessarily for your product images and for your ads. So when it comes to ads and your product pages, really what converts best is an image of your product, a very clear image of your product, usually a PNG, no background, just a clear background. Think of like the Apple ads, right, that are the most successful ads in all of history. It's just the image of the Apple product, white, maybe a word or two, and that's the entire ad. It's so simple. and it converts really well. I mean, that's, again, these are the most successful ads in all of history. It's simplicity, really across the board. With a lot of this stuff is really the way to go. So a few other options. You have the picture of the product in use, like someone using the product for whatever it might be. So if you have like a topical product, maybe a person rubbing it on their body. Of course, that person is the demographic, right, of your customer base. Okay. The reward of the product. So say it's a pain product, something to help solve a person's maybe a sore back or whatever it might be. You could have an image of that person who matches the demographics of your customer base, hiking up a hill, whatever it might be, and then making that image a little bit odd or a little bit strange. Because we know from the principle of the other images that those sort of images may grab attention a little bit more. So that would be something that you could potentially test, but showing the actual reward of the product. Picture of the attainment of the product, and enlarged product details also usually stand out pretty well. So you see these a lot with kind of more clickbait sort of images and ads. But the reason they do that is because it works really well, where it might be like a round circle of a close-up of some aspect of the image or some highlight of the image. So that would be something to consider. But generally, across the board, it's just the image of the product, a really clear image of the product works really well. And we'll see that because we're going to look at, from our swipe file, we're going to look at the websites of your competitors and see what they're doing. So what are the top brands in your industry doing? That would be something to definitely consider, along with these principles that I'm laying out here. Use photographs, don't use drawings, don't use illustrations when it comes to any of this. Really, actual photographs are what delivers the best sales. Stay away from drawings, stay away from illustrations. Just images of your product and what I've laid out delivers the best results. So let's look at some of competitors. We're gonna the example we've been using is CBD products, CBD sleep products, but we're going to look at some of the major CBD brands and see what's delivering the best results for them. Okay, so within our swipe file, we have this list of links for your direct competitors and major brands within your industry. These are just a few for the CBD industry that we'll use in this example. So I've just opened up a few of these websites, and what we're going to look for is the actual product page that they have laid out here. So decline offer. So really what we see for the main product image, which makes sense. I mean, this is definitely the way to go, is you would see the image of just a very clear image of the product, no background, no distractions, just clear, white images of the product. Even has a little bit of shadow, but that's really all that there is showing of the products. Let's take a look. Yeah, that's an interesting choice on their part, because that's not really an image of the product in use. I guess that's kind of to show the scale or the size of the product, but that's not necessarily, it's next to a drink and some fruit, and there are, immunity gummies. That image, not a huge fan of it, but it's worth taking note of. I mean, they're using it. This is one of the major brands, so it's something worth considering. This type of image would be something that you might want to try. Just to test out if you're going to be testing several images. Maybe consider an image more similar to that, what they have. So this one we have, they just have two images. I know this is common for CBD products, listing the ingredients here. I'm not sure how much that really drives conversions, but okay, here's one where they have a lot of images. Good. So this one, here's the back. I think these two images are a bit redundant, but you have the main image here, right? So we've seen this for all these. The main image is just a very simple white image. You have some labels there. That's fine, I suppose. But grow to change lives. This I'm not a fan of, but it's something worth considering, right? Is this the original formula? Is it something particular, or okay? So now it's just a particular flavoring. I would say this image is probably not a great choice, but that's terrible. They should get rid of that. This is potentially good because it's someone actually using or interacting with the product, just like we said. So that's a potentially good product. This person might match their demographic. For CBD products, we know that's mostly women, so I'll probably see mostly women in a lot of these images. That I'm not, I suppose it shows the detail of the product, but it's not really principles. So this is good. Customer actually interacting with the product. So yeah, it's not too bad. Some of those images are not a big fan, but let's go one more here. Okay, good. Person interacting. Your guy interacting. So maybe they have their customer base is maybe older gentlemen too. So they might have a little bit of variety. These images are not all that great, unless there's some requirement for them to show the actual labels. But while I'm sure there's curiosity of what's on the label and what's in the ingredients are, you can put that down here. Like, you don't need to have that as one of your main images. Really, what you want to have here are the images that apply to the principles I laid out. Clear, and it does to a lot extent. Like, this image is great. Person interacting with images, but the labeling, you might want to include that information later in the content, because it's not something I would have as a main feature. That's just me though. Something you can test. Take a look at these guys. Again, all clear. Images. Okay, now it's 10. So 10 milligrams and 20 milligrams, but I mean, I don't know if those two images are really great. And then you have a picture of the label. So Joy Organics is a huge brand, so they're successful. But with all this stuff, you'll see some aspects that are just wrong. We know that there's certain principles in marketing and psychology of what people respond to and what gets the best interactions. There's all sorts of reasons why they might be successful, right? But I would say these images are lackluster. That the main one of the image, that's fine. This pop-up here is not great. I mean, can it be full screen? I have to scroll down, little things like that. Not a huge difference, but I mean, is this image here going to drive conversions? Probably not. You could just have this text lower, have it lower on the page, have it somewhere down here under the reviews or whatever it might be, and instead have an image of someone interacting with the product, right? Or have the benefits of the product, the kind of principles that we know actually work. They've been time tested, over and over again. Yeah, that's really they've kind of dropped the ball, in my opinion. I mean, not to be too critical, these guys are very successful companies, so but it's not because of these images here. They have this image, this clear image. That's great. These labeling images are not going to help you really with sales in any way. They could replace those with something much better. So let's go there. Again, right? Simple product images. That's the first image every time. And really across the board. So you definitely want to do that. Get the labels. This might just be because it's a particular CBD product. I know a lot of people are concerned about the ingredients within CBD, but I don't know if that needs to necessarily be right at the front of the main images here. Like, this is not. That's not driving sales, right? Like, that's not going to help with conversions in any way. The information might be helpful, but you can include this. You don't have to have this information as the main image on your product page. You can have it lower in the, look, you got it right here. Just include that sort of content. So this is good. This shows, some. No, it's not good, because it's not showing a human interacting with it, right? It's just showing the board. I mean, it's a nice looking background and everything. It's a fine photo, but knowing the principles that we know, this image is not going to help in any way with sales. It's a fine looking image. It's just that it does not, apply the principles. Whereas the one that's a clear white background, it's not even clear white background. It's clear and white here, but then it's showing colored in this version. So it's kind of odd, but I would say that this sort of image is great. I would get rid of the background, maybe even, get rid of the shadow a little bit. That's no good. This, just a black background, it blends. The image doesn't really stand out. That sort of image is not okay. Yeah, they're not really doing. The first website I looked at did a really good job, but it's again, this is another one of the main CBD companies. So again, they're very successful. It's just that we know if you took this product page and did like an A/B test of another product page and you just changed those images, I mean, I guarantee you that the conversion rates would be better. You would have more sales just by getting rid of this label, including that information within the ingredients page. This almost applies because it looks kind of like it's on a bedside right here, but it's not really. If this was an alarm clock, it would probably do a little bit better. You don't need that either. They have a video. Okay, let's take a look. It's interesting because you could easily set this up on Vimeo or another video service, or you can actually just embed it in your website. You wouldn't have any of this YouTube stuff on here, right? So there's going to be a certain percentage of people that see this. They're going to say, okay, watch on YouTube. And then they're going off your website and they're watching your video on YouTube potentially, right? And then they're going to see some suggested videos from YouTube, and they might click on one of those, and then they're just off your website, right? And your conversions are going to go down by some amount. It's not huge numbers, but this is just stuff to consider. Whereas if you just spent a little more time and embedded these in Vimeo or just had them within your website, you would have much cleaner looking image here. Like this is CBD PM oil tinctures for sleep from C. Okay, so share, watch later. Let's watch later. Okay, so that's added to my YouTube now, I guess. But oops. And then while you're watching it, you have this YouTube logo right here. So you're kind of. Okay, I mean, that's a good looking video. I won't criticize the video, but it's just the whole time you have this YouTube thing right here. So, let me just one more for these guys just because they have a little bit of variety. Another video. Yeah, these images are not. I mean, it's a fine looking image, right? Like but how does this apply to anything that, Delta 9 gummies, where if you had like a girl that matched her demographics, actually putting the gummy in her mouth or, holding it in her hand, something that's uniquely human, that would do a much better job as far as conversion rates go on the website. Again, if you just took the same site, changed those images, you would have much better conversions for the new version of the site. Again, YouTube, promoting YouTube in here. It's interesting they don't show the person's face in that video, right? I'm not sure what the reasoning behind that was. I suppose it shows the product a little bit more, but you can have them hold the product a little higher and actually, place it in their mouth. So you have this distinctly human face interacting with your product, and that matches the demographic of your consumer base, right? It's interesting, as just as a marketing agency, we see these things all the time where it's like they've spent a lot of money on this video. This is a big video production. And it looks good. And then you don't embed the video within your website, or you don't set it up on Vimeo or another service, and instead you have it on YouTube. And it's like, now I'm pausing the video. Ads for other products that are not related to you are being shown on your website on this video that you spent all this money on. And potentially I could see this and say, oh, that looks great. I'm gonna look at that. Great. Now I'm on YouTube. Now I'm off your website. Now I'm shopping around. Now I'm, it's like your conversions just drop. So you spend all this money on producing this great video, but you don't take that extra step and make sure that it's if it's set up on like Vimeo or embedded in your site, you're not going to see any of this YouTube stuff. You're not going to see any of these ads. You're not going to see any of this nonsense, right? So it's just an interesting side note. That doesn't really apply to the topic that we're discussing, but when I see these things, I just want to cover them because hopefully they're helpful. Okay, so let's get off CBDMD and take a look at these guys. And this would apply to any sort of product. This is not necessarily just CBD products. I'm just showing you the process here. So more CBD gummies. Okay, let's take a look at these. Sleepy Z's. Okay, so you have a good amount of text here, and they also and then you have two images, and one's a label. And it's really small, I can't really read it. That's not, that sort of zoom in, this that's not going to help me. That's not going to make me want to buy more because I can zoom in on your look. Whoa, wow, that makes me want to buy more. It's not. Instead, I would say feature some additional images here, and that apply to the principles we sort of laid out. Oh boy, same thing, huh? This is another big company, so it's interesting. Yeah, over and over again. So I don't know. And one thing you could do is if you wanted to try it where it's just one or two images and the label or whatever it might be, and then, check out my on-site A/B testing video. You could create another site of your product page and make these sorts of changes. And then what will happen is the website will send 50% of the traffic to one page, 50% to the other page, and it will see which one drives the most conversions. I pretty much guarantee the different version will get you better results. Okay, so let's get off this site. And just the last one here, we can wrap up after that. Product, yeah. CBD oil, sure. These guys are really, really good at marketing usually, so I'm curious to see what kind of we're doing here. Okay, sure. What am I looking at here? These different sizes? Okay, that's not moving. Okay. Milligrams. I mean, just showing so many images of the bottle. Look at this. That's not good. So that's all that they're doing is they're showing the 50 milligram bottle, and it's the same bottle. It's just the different milligrams on there. You really need to show the front and back of each one of these bottles. What about the bottom? Like, what does the bottom of this bottle look like? That's important to me as a customer, right? No, it's not. Like you can have these ingredients listed further down the page. This labeling, it's not, doesn't need to be your main feature here. Okay, we're getting closer. So we have that, and then, I mean, they have so many images here. Okay, it's fine, I suppose. It's better than the labeling images. So this is the different sizes. They have the front and back of each size, huh? Well, that's not great. Okay, and there repeats. I got it. So I would say, all this stuff, test it for yourself and kind of see the best results. But we just know time-tested, results with these ads. We know that certain kinds of images get more attention. Certain kinds of images get more conversions. So with the conversions, we have the picture of the product. These guys have that. All these guys have that. The first image is always the picture of the product, just clear as can be. No background, no anything else, just straight at the product. Pictures of the product in use. These really cover it that well. Pictures of the obtainment, or the result that you want from the product. So if it's a sleep product, a person sleeping in bed, looking happy, whatever it might be. And then maybe a large product detail. Some of these images include that, like the oil actually dripping out, or whatever it might be. So really, number one is picture of the product. Picture of the product in use would come second to that. Attainment or the result that you're trying to get from the product. Outside of the products, pages, and the ads, the sort of images, I'll just touch on it one last time here, is brides, babies, animals, famous people, odd situations, catastrophes, and then focusing on things that are distinctly human. So human head, hands, eyes, things like that really make it distinctly human. And you can combine all these things. You can have your product image and then have a person that matches your demographics and have something odd about the situation to make it stand out a little bit more to help grab attention. But then they go to your product page and you have these images that apply to the principles at hand. So yeah, that's what I have to say with the as far as images on your ads, your content that you're creating, and your product pages. And I hope it's helpful. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.